Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to When the Shift Hits the Fan. My name is Mark Jeffrey. I am here with Linda Lehman, and we are together the shifters, shifting through life and all of the wild and wacky things that have happened to us, particularly since we were both visited by that, well, I was going to say something not cool, but that little thing called cancer. So, we want to talk about something I think is, well, we both think is extremely important and something that I think a lot of people sidestep, don't pay attention to, and we're talking about tonight, getting killed by the freight train that you didn't see coming. And over this weekend we were talking about the many, many ways that we set ourselves up for failure. We set ourselves up to be hurt. We set ourselves up to not even come close to attaining our goals and our aspirations. And I know we started talking about, things that are beyond your control. For instance, we both, even to this day, even though it's 14, 15 years later, that I have been cancer-free, I will tell you there's not a day that goes by in my life that I don't think that it could come back and you get a twitchy little thing here or weird little thing happening there. And before I had cancer, I would not immediately jump to cancer. I just jump right into the pool, both ends, right in the deep end every time something happens, like I get a headache that's a little different than another headache, and I'm all of a sudden got a brain tumor. You work your way through it, obviously, but it's always there. And I know, Linda, if people sometimes, though, don't have the capability or the tools to work through it where it just goes way the hell and gone before they even get a chance to recognize that they're almost down for the count, right?
Oh, that's so true, Mark. I mean, there's countless stories that you can read about people who literally worried themselves into a horrible illness and died when there really wasn't anything wrong with them, other than they developed it in their mind, and then they absorbed it, they internalized it, they believed it, and they truly created this ailment, this monster that devoured them. And if they had just stepped back, again, it's, I know we make it sound so simple. Just change the way you're thinking about it, change your mind, change what you're focusing on, and focus on what it is that you want instead of all these things that you dread that you don't want, and you will have a much better outcome. But Mark, it's because our mind is so incredibly powerful, and most people don't realize that. And so it truly is. You can sink yourself into the result that you're focusing on. It may sound hokey, but it really is true. That's the way it happens.
Yeah, it does. And I think the bottom line, I mean, after over a year of doing these shows, Linda, for me, the bottom line for most people is they just have no clue about their own power, and for many, many reasons, right? I mean, if you started listing them, parents didn't give them value or worth, were beat up as a kid, like a gazillion things, right? And all of that, including some that probably is in your DNA, all of that accumulates over a lifetime of who, as an adult, you're going to be. And then, again, how much you have to fight to get to where we are, for instance. And by no means am I, do I go through my life and every day is great. In fact, that doesn't happen. I mean, and there's some days that I could go spoiling for a fight, but it's only to improve my skills sometimes, I think. You know, like I'm going to try this. And you know, I mean, we've talked about things going on in our private lives that, you know, really don't come into here. About, you know, both of us, we take on stuff all the time. Well, I'll just see. And boy, nobody tell us, well, you can't. Because, well, we're just out gunning for that one. But I don't think that that's, well, no, I don't think. I know, because we deal and help people every day that don't have that, you know, within them because of something that dragged them around the block. I just talked to a guy here the other day. He's only been given a few months to live. He's got cancer, but he doesn't believe it. I mean, he just simply said, you know, they're wrong. And that's all there is to it. There's no way. And I'm going, go for it.
Mhm.
Like, go for it, dude. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? You die happy.
Right. Right.
You know?
Exactly. And you know, Mark, I think sometimes our listeners need a starting point. And I can give my starting point because, again, I want to really stress that neither you nor I started out this way, knowing what we know now, knowing how powerful our mind is, how powerful we are, and how we actually have the ability to change and create what's going on around us. I grew up, and I'm talking from childhood through my 20s and into my 30s, I grew up believing that what I physically saw in my environment around me was all fact. That's the way it was. And so
Okay,
I was actually, yeah, go ahead.
Good or bad? Like,
well, you know, some good, some bad. You know, not everything in life is bad. You know, there were some good things, but there were some bad things, and there were some, for lack of a better term, achievement challenges. Because I took in my professional career, I took probably the hardest road, one of the hardest roads, instead of really following the path and doing what was expected. You know, because I was always told that you're never going to amount to anything unless you go to school, you go to college and stuff. But I thought, you know, that I would beat that because, you know, I had a great job. I had, you know, some kind of desire. I didn't know what it was. But realistically, I was believing that, you know, what I saw, you know, even down to, well, since I don't have a college degree, then I'm going to be paid, you know, just a little bit above minimum wage. I thought that that's just the way it was.
Okay. So,
I
so you didn't
live where I was.
You maybe live. Does that mean that at that point in time you weren't challenging anything?
Right. You know, because I was believing, okay, this is what it is, and I wasn't going to challenge it because that's what, you know, that's what they told me. But there came a point in time where I don't know, probably instinctively started asking the question, but why? But why does it have to be this way? But why do I have to go and get that accounting degree that totally bores me stiff? But why can't I really make something of myself without going back and starting all over again from square one? You know, why do things happen to people? You know, you can ask that question. And then, you know, through a little bit of study and then experimentation, you know, when I first heard that maybe I could have some control on what was happening in my life, and so I started experimenting with the little things. And so, you know, you pick something small, and it works. You know, that's how, you know, some people who read The Secret go, okay, well, I see this. I can get myself a parking space, or I can make sure that through this stretch of the highway, I'm going to hit all green lights. And then, you know, one day it happens, and it's, okay, woo-hoo, we celebrate. But it's really I've really come full circle. But I realize I encounter so many people out there who think that what they see around them is all there is and all they're going to get.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. But here, you know what's really cool about that, and I think we talked, I don't know, sometime, because we kind of drift in and out of this part of our shows. You know, it's really interesting how people walk by things in their daily life, and it just reminded me because you said, you know, you hit a green light. I have a girlfriend who always finds a parking space right at the front, no matter where she goes. Walmart parking lot, right at the front. Somebody will inevitably pull out just as she's coming in, and she will say, that's the way it is. And that's the way it is. Now, I have never, not ever once, been with her when that didn't happen. You know, so, you know, is there something, I mean, we have to look at that, right? Something way beyond what us teeny-weeny little humans understand for the belief of something and how big that is. I mean, we hear that, the healing of prayer, but I mean, what is prayer? A belief, right? That, you know, something good is going to come of it. That's really all that it boils down to, is the absolute unwavering conviction that whatever it is, you're going to get. And you and I were laughing about this because I was going, yeah, I'm going to win the lottery, and I got a job opportunity, or like not a job opportunity, but an opportunity to work on a project. And I'm thinking, well, it wasn't quite what I had in mind, but that's okay. You know, it's money came my way. It came from an unexpected source. I was thinking lottery lazy ass me, but no, you know, but it came, right? Because I put out the intention that I was looking for something, but because I was so lackadaisiac in my intention of lottery, money, whatever, you know, it's like take on all comers, along came, and I'm sure a few other things came along, but this one came and piqued my interest, so I accepted it. Now, I could just say, oh yeah, well that's what happens, or I could believe that I put out that intention. See, I have a choice, right? We have that choice, right, Linda?
We always have that choice. And when we start, you know, belief is wonderful, and belief is absence of any doubt whatsoever. Because you know, people can tell you, oh yeah, I believe that. Oh yeah, I believe that. But in the back of their mind,
you're nuts.
Yeah, you're nuts. Or there's this little, even a teensy weensy little minuscule piece of doubt. And that itsy-bitsy little piece of doubt is going to keep you from whatever it is that you're saying, oh, I'll believe that, I'll believe that. You truly have to, with every cell in your body, believe it. And that's like your friend. There is absolutely zero doubt in her mind that she will not have that parking spot in the front. She always knows, I'm going to have it. She believes it with her heart and soul and everything. And so she's putting out that intention.
Well, hell yeah. And you know, if you tried to talk her out of that, she'd probably make you walk. I mean, really, and that's what we're talking about. You know, you can't do any of this. You can't change your life. You can't do anything if you aren't totally committed to it. I mean, it's just not going to change. It's just not. Like, you make a half-hearted, well, if you take a half-hearted attempt, you're going to get a half-hearted result.
Right. Instead of the lottery, you got something else.
Yeah. Well.
But it was still something, because you had that intention and that belief that you were going to bring in something better. Or something.
Well, it was, you know, here's me, right? I'll lead you down this path, because this is how whacked really my life is. Because I stopped working with Tony Robbins in May. And I thought, well, I'm going to do this and that. But in between when I actually made that decision to leave and stay home and do things, I was really diligently working on my online businesses because I needed them to succeed. You know, because before that, I will totally admit, I was kind of like, oh yeah, I'll do this today and whatever. And, you know, I'd make some money. And I mean, for most people, it was great money. But for the money I was making, it was a long sight short of what I needed to make. But it kept me in, you know, Merlot and visiting my friends when I wanted to without really thinking about it, right? But it came to this point where, okay, what are you going to do with your life? So in between that, I was really working on it. So these things started cooking, and I started making the right choices. And because I was looking at them, they were always there. I was always doing the right thing. I just wasn't doing it consistently enough. And when Linda and I tell you, if you're going to be in business, you get up every morning, you go to work on that business. You have to. Or you're going to get half-baked results like I did. I mean, some months I was up because I was working on it. Some months I was traveling, so not so much. And that's a very frustrating and anxiety. That's a stressful way to live.
Mhm. Exactly. And I think what you're touching on here, and too, Mark, is we absolutely positively must have a plan.
Yep.
We don't necessarily have to know every little step in that plan, but we have to have a plan. Something to strive for, something to work toward, instead of just floundering, because that's where we get that half-hearted, lackadaisical result. And even if we're doing something, but you want something else, but you don't focus on the plan that you've made to get to that something else, you're never going to get there.
Yep.
It's always about following the plan, and as you said, being consistent about that plan. It's funny, and I really want to open the lid, and I know it's going to take probably several shows to do it justice, but realistically, people can tell me all day long that believing in the law of attraction is hokey. Doing daily affirmations is hokey. Doing daily visualization is a waste of time. Doing meditation is a waste of time. Well, I have to say this. If it works, which it does, why not do it?
Mm-hmm.
What have you got to lose?
Yeah, and that was one of I think the main, when I was going through cancer, and because I'll be honest, I think half of it was the drugs, but okay. But while I was, laying there and I was, even doing my mapping, I mean, that would take hours on end while you had to lay still, and they were mapping where they were going to do radiation, all of that stuff. And then when I was going through chemo and the blood the whole crappy ass stuff, I was not there. I just said, okay, this is it. But I, with my mind, closed my eyes and took myself away, thinking of myself healthy and happy and the things that I had yet to do. And I mean, yeah, it sounds hokey, stupid, but I never got sick. I never had any reactions to the chemo and radiation. And I actually work with somebody now who said to me, because I didn't understand that, I just knew I'm out of here. That's me. I'm out of here. Can't stand this. Who told me that I actually, when you do that, that's an actual physical removal of emotions, thought, and spirit to that place where you don't know what happened. And he told me that, yeah, and I know part of it's the drugs. I keep saying that. But he said the reason a lot of that you don't remember is because you weren't there. You just weren't there.
Yeah.
You removed yourself and built a better space to be, and your body thought, not bad, I'm going with you.
Mhm. Well,
I think that's cool.
I think it's very cool, Mark, and I'll put my 2 cents worth in, because I wasn't taking any of those good drugs while I was going through my process. I mean, it wasn't really necessary. So I have to say, through the biopsies, through the MRIs, through the bone scans and everything else that I was going through, I too took myself out of it, and I was only focusing on me being beautifully healthy and toned and have keeping all of my hair and not being sick. So I say throw out the drug excuse, because I didn't have them, but I was still doing exactly what you were doing. I was out of there. In my MRIs, it was a beautiful time. I got to where I looked forward to them because I knew that was dedicated visualization time for me.
Mhm.
Because the sound of the MRI was like almost a perfect binaural tone.
Yeah.
And I'd been using some binaural meditation music, so immediately when I went into that tube, instead of feeling this horrible claustrophobic feeling, it was just like now I can go to my mind sanctuary and I can see myself beautifully and perfectly healthy, and so I escaped it, and then next thing I know, they're telling me we're done. I was like, oh, cool.
Mhm.
Yay. So I give that a ton of credit.
Yeah, and that's not to say that you go skippity-doing through life, because we also talked about this on the weekend, that people get slammed upside the head because they're not paying attention to things. Like, examples like your husband walks in the door one day and says, yeah, I'm in love with another woman, see you around. Or you get your pink slip at work when you think you're doing the best job that anybody could do. Not paying attention, like living in the hokey pokey world. There's realities there too, people. You have to look after it. I mean, I did everything. I mean, I didn't just lay there meditating and think, oh, I'm going to be wonderful tomorrow. You just heard me. Chemo, radiation, Asian medicine, Western medicine, hypnosis, every bloody thing I could throw at this frickin' monster, I did. I was very cognizant of the fact that I was in the fight of my life. And I think that as we live our lives, we don't fight like we're in the fight of our lives. We're not even grateful half the time that we got up breathing. We just go, oh, it's a privilege. My friends, it's not. And yeah, right, Linda, we're going to have to talk about this.
Yeah, we are. We are. Because I think, too, that we things creep up and surprise us, but realistically, we're not paying attention, but realistically, once those things happen, once as we titled the show tonight, once we're face to face with that freight train, number one, you got to move. You got to get moving. One way or another, you got to get moving. But number two, when you have a moment to reflect back, people say, well, it just came out of the blue. It came out of the blue. I wasn't expecting it. If you think back, there were signals. Your intuition was probably screaming at you at the top of its lungs, hey, you need to look at this. Hey, you need to pay attention to this. Hey, are you doing your very best every day? Something's going on. And typically what happens to most people is that they feel these feelings, this intuition knocking on the door or trying to bang them on the head, and they push it aside. They ignore it. They say, not now, I'm busy. Not now, I'm busy. And then all of a sudden we busy ourselves into the front of the freight train.
Yeah. And here's serendipity for you. I'm driving home to get home in time for our show, and parked right by a railway crossing was this cool freight train, just parked. And I thought, I think, oh, well, if I wasn't driving, I would have taken a picture and said, hey, cool. I even thought I'm going to stop and run back and take a picture in front of it, but they thought, go, just your luck, it'll start up and go and squish you. So not a good idea. But it was just so cool that we were going to be doing, and I'm thinking, I've never seen a train at this railway crossing because it's kind of out in the country, right, coming home. And I'm going, wow, look at that there.
Obviously, it's the right topic tonight.
Obviously. So, we only have a couple of minutes here, and for me, I've got to say, you need to be careful of freight trains because they're big and they're ugly, and they can boot you into next Sunday. And when you do get hit by a freight train, sometimes, not always, but sometimes you do survive. And you got to put the effort there. And some days, like it might be an ankle biter freight train, and you can make it through it. But one day, that big mother is going to come walking into or steaming into your life, I'll say. And if you don't build the skills and the techniques and the strategies right now today while your life is good, you're not going to make it through it, because I'll tell you, it's too late. It's just too late. It's too much. And I'm sure that that's probably dramatic in the fact that some people did do it, but I don't think, Linda, for 1 minute that the average person would make it through some of this stuff, and I see them die every day for this reason, because they never thought of it before. So that's what I have tonight.
Well, I'd like to bolster everybody back up again. I believe that it's never too late as long as you set your mind to the work, the effort that it's going to take to get yourself either picked back up again or move away from the freight train. Now, I know some health issues. I mean, we've got a lot of doubt and stuff to deal with that, but realistically, it's going to take effort. It's going to take work. I mean, it took Mark and I years to develop into the mindsets that we are now, and now, thank goodness, we've kind of cut through a lot of the mistakes and the hard parts and the ignoring it for a while, in my case, and then starting over again. And that's why we help so many people, and we want to help so many people cut through all of the mistakes that we made, so that they can just follow the path and get into this mindset. Because when you're there, you know, every day is a miracle. Every day you are aware and you notice things that happen and things that are going on around you, and you're able to step aside of that train instead of allowing it to run over you. So I guess my last words for tonight would be to go into that silent place, that quiet place within every single day. You know, right when you wake up, and then sometimes if you're feeling a little bit taxed during the middle of the day, go there, relax yourself, and then make the intention to be aware and mindful of the things going on around you, so that you pick up on those little signals that maybe you ought to move left or you ought to move right instead of standing straight in the middle. And you'll find with practice that not only do you dodgeball those freight trains, but they become those little miniature toy trains that you can play with on a track.
Yeah, great advice, Linda. Great advice. Yeah, building your intuition. Yeah, I think that'll be focus of our next show, for sure.
Love it.
Because I think that's where I think that's a fundamental for sure. And then I just want to take a moment just to thank everyone for dropping in again. We have some tremendous people listening to our shows. Some very powerful ladies and men, but people who at some point in their life, the freight train did visit their lives, and they maybe weren't equipped to deal with it. And I am very honored and privileged to be able to spend this time with people, and I never forget that. So thank you so very much, and good night from here up in old Canada.
And thank you so much, and good night from down here in Florida.